Welcome back everyone once again to another SnowRunner video. Today we're going to continue the truck request series. Thank you guys so much for voting on the Step 310. I did see it sitting in the comments of all the videos before this, and it was gaining traction, but it wasn't getting to the point where it merits a feature. So thank you guys so much for actually voting for it this time. I'm probably going to mention low saddle as it's configured right here. So you're probably going to hear it, but I probably will refrain from talking about it too much. But you probably will see it in the driving portion. So here's the comment showing the Step 310 Echo. Thank you for the comment and thank you for the upvotes. Please leave a comment on the next base game truck you would like to see featured. And please upvote a comment that you would like to see featured as well. And the most upvoted comment will be the next truck we feature on the truck request. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. So, the Step 310 Echo. It is a very unique vehicle in the sense that it is not like most of the trucks that you find or buy in Tamir, even though nowadays you can buy trucks from any region, from any garage, pretty much. They changed that. So, but you used to have to go to Tamir to buy Russian vehicles or Eastern European vehicles, right? Or any vehicle you find in that region, right? So this one, it's weird. It's like I want to compare it to something of like a North American truck, but then it also has that Tega look to it, but just a smaller size. So I just call it the stepchild. It's just one of those weird things. So I call it the stepchild, and that's kind of where it is. It's great. Like I said, it's like a North American truck, but some North American trucks don't really have great stability, as we've learned in past videos. And then also they're a little bit fuel thirsty, which we will learn about, I think, a little bit later. Most of the vehicles we've talked about so far have been decent on fuel efficiency, so that's really not a thing, or not a thing that the US trucks are known for. But I think in the newer DLCs, those things have kind of changed, just kind of scrabbled up a little bit. But anyways, Step 310 Echo in the garage tour here starts out with a bunch of engine options. And I would say that the Laz TA240 at 185,000 torque is not needed. In my tier list, I mentioned I loved having this just because I wanted to pull massive loads. Well, after that tier list, I believe I must have been in like Almaty. I think I was in Almaty season 13. And I think a viewer mentioned that I talked a lot about the Voin engine on my review, but I wasn't using it to play with on hard mode. And he was like, you might get better fuel consumption from that. I was like, you know what? I think you're right. Let's put it on there. I put it on there and the performance was just as good. And I was actually still pulling the same amount of cargo, and my fuel consumption was vastly decreased because its base consumption on this engine is very low at like 5.0. which is actually the new Plaid 440 Buddy. Its max engine is at 5.0 as well, which is really good. So we'll talk about that. Little spoiler there for the next review. So it's a super efficient engine. In my opinion, this is a vehicle that I would downgrade power because it has enough power to weight to move cargo efficiently and satisfactory. So anyways, moving forward, and it does need to have, I think, this engine as well, because 59 gallons, 220 liters is not huge. And this can rip through fuel pretty well if you get it under load. So fine tune, never. High range, perhaps. I think the areas that you can open up high range and be effective without taking crazy amounts of damage. In a lot of harder areas, the areas are few and far between in my opinion, but places like, I would say, Belozersk Glades, which is Season 8, Michigan, Alaska, parts of Tamir. Some new maps that have smooth surfaces. Man, you can really crack this thing wide open and just run it. But in my opinion, off-road does the job. I love manipulating gears. You're going to hear that nonstop. So off-road's usually my pick. I'm okay with it. Raised suspension is an absolute must. Please do not downgrade the stock. You do not want 39-inch tires. you want 43s. 43s are all already pretty small, and that's the requirement to get 43s is the raised suspension. The vehicle sits rather wide, to be quite honest, and it looks even rather wider when you put it like a jet on there. You can see how wide it looks. It's crazy. The tires stick out super wide. My pick for tires on this one, it doesn't necessarily need stability. So you could essentially just negate using the jats and just use the normal UOD tires if you'd like. Or you could just throw these on just to mix them up. But just for, adding even more lateral stability, which is always a good thing. You're going to perform pretty well with all 6 of these right here. So they're all a pretty good option. And these actually look really good. Those look really good. I might start using those, man. Or those too. New things. Okay, moving forward. Standard winches, the advanced. Switchable all-wheel drive, switchable diff lock, so it doesn't have the always-on features like some of its other, brothers, I guess you would say. The other notable off-road trucks in its class, like the Tegas, Vorons, stuff like that. So, yeah, you have the ability. I kind of like the switchable features, to be honest, a little bit better just because it's more of a cerebral gameplay. You have a little bit more control. I like this. I actually wish that most vehicles were this. I think if they changed every vehicle to have everything switchable, there would be a big shift in power, I think, or just a big shift in what trucks are the most powerful. And I think, performance, of course, is going to change, right? Because always on diff lock is just an unreal thing when it comes to performance. Mushroom head snorkel is the one I talked about on the Western Star review. This is what I like, these ones that are kind of tucked up close to the cab, and they don't stick out like crazily, duck heads here, especially with the cab's kind of like rounded off. Yeah, I like it a lot. You will be able to do some crossings in this vehicle. It's not super tall. It's a rather small truck, to be honest, compared to a lot of others, but you can still do crossings with it. I wouldn't say anything crazy. And then moving on here to add-ons, probably the only add-on I'm probably not going to use, which I would say this. In hard mode, I probably can count how many times I've used a large crane on one hand. I might not have used a large crane at all on my hard mode playthrough. To be fair, I don't think it's needed. So this is probably something I wouldn't use. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the last time I've used like a large crane on hard mode. If anybody knows, please let me know in the comments if you watched my hard mode playthrough. Yeah, I don't know. There might be, it's definitely under 5. So probably not something I would use here. I would say if you wanted to use a large crane, there's definitely better options to use because, yeah, the landing gear is very low, very, very low to the ground. And these things, when you're driving down deep rutted trails, you will catch these on the side. And that's kind of why I like the P12 for a crane truck, because these sit up very high. So it's probably not something I would use. I would say with logging, it's a pretty good logging truck just because I think its stability is good. If I was going to use like a medium log frame, short log frame, or even like a long log frame, I'm probably going to put the Jat tires on just to further my stability. However much that adds in stability, I don't know. But yeah, logically, wider tires, more stability. So I believe it's going to handle things very well. I think it's a very forgiving truck. And it's very overshadowed. A lot of folks probably like using it with a sideboard bed for doing smaller hauls. It can do this, but I'm going to default to say low saddle, 5-slot trailer, and just run it. It's kind of my default there. I think it does an amazing job. If you watch my hard mode playthroughs or most of my playthroughs, you will most likely see this thing doing a lot of work, even in pretty rough places. It just does the job really well. It's great for hard mode because it's efficient. Even with load, it's efficient. And in hard mode, it's really nice for that because, yeah, sometimes you can get a little bit lazy with where you place your support vehicles. And if you're not placing support vehicles in hard mode, you're doing it wrong. Make sure you place your support vehicles around the map so then you can just fuel up and just keep going and keep going. But having a vehicle that basically chews up less fuel, it gives you more leeway to make mistakes and not just run out of gas and have to go basically spend 15, 20, 30 minutes coming over to, you know, repair, refuel it, and get it back on the mission path. No one wants to do that. It's kind of like wasting time. So putting effort up front to keep things moving is a great thing. And having an efficient vehicle that's you don't have to worry about running out of fuel a lot is, I would say, a breath of fresh air. So that's really why I love this vehicle. It's powerful, it's stable, it's not the most powerful, but it is very, very, very efficient. And that's what I think the Step 310 Echo is. It's just a very well-rounded vehicle that does the job. And the crazy thing is hasn't been really known about. And I'll talk a little bit more about this, of the reputation of how it's kind of overshadowed here in the part that we actually drive. So let's get started. If I'm being completely honest here, my first time playing the game in chronological order back in 2020, which was the only really had the base game, the Step 310 Echo was never on my radar. Even after unlocking it, getting it back to the garage in Zimnogorsk from the truck recovery task. At that point, I essentially had all my upgrades for my Tega. I had multiple Vorons, I had multiple Azovs. My fleet was pretty set. Not to mention having the Dan as well, with, you know, an engine that has 260,000 torque. And yeah, I thought to myself, what do I need with this vehicle here? And I kind of laughed. I was like, it doesn't have always on all-wheel drive diff lock. It has these stupid small tires. Like, what am I going to do with this? Why would I need this? Tamir has a lot of mud. Zimnogorsk has a lot of mud. Back then, I definitely wasn't really good at traversing those things, so I was always using the best machine, and that's okay, right? But looking back on that, in hindsight, I probably would say it would have been a better idea for Saber to add the Step 310 to the mission outside of the Drowned Lands garage where the Tega is unlocked, and switch the Tega with the Step. So the Tega would actually be the truck recovery task in Zimnogorsk, and the Step, the task in Drowned Lands to unlock. I think that would have been better, especially as like a building your way through the map, like you're finding good trucks as things get harder, so you're kind of scaling with difficulty. But I mean, getting the Tega there and, you know, getting it fully upgraded, it's like, what else do you need to use? Especially that, and having Vorons, Azovs. It didn't really dawn to me that this vehicle actually was good, to be honest, until I started to jump in to do my review. That was my next one on the list, and I was like, oh gosh, here we go. I don't know if I'm even going to say anything good about it. And then I started driving it and testing, and I was like, wow, this is actually really good. And before I even knew the numbers from the files later on after 2022, it struck me that the Voin engine was just very efficient. And I was like, this is actually really good. I'm actually going to use this vehicle. And to be quite honest, it really surprised me. It's not a typical Russian 6x6 of what we've seen from the elite caliber of that class, but I promise it will surprise you. It has surprised me in a lot of really sticky situations on multiple seasons here, and it's just been such a great experience. I think I've had some of the most fun in the Step 310 Echo. I think it's actually rather forgiving to drive, and it's just really immersive to move it around in different ways and make it work, especially when it's not an elite vehicle in its class. So doing more with less always is such a great feeling to me. I don't know. And this kind of like just brings that about. It's efficient, which I love, and it pulls cargo. It doesn't have the best power to weight. It doesn't have the most power in its class either, but I think it's sufficient. So two things I can get behind, which I absolutely love, is a truck that's stable and a truck that's efficient. With those two things, and if you have just okay power, man, I can do a lot with that. And I think that is really why I love this vehicle. It's not the best, but man, if you can change your perspective, I believe you will have a ton of fun with this vehicle. I definitely have, and I will continue to use it here in season 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, basically because the year 5 pass is announced as of today on the 22nd of August. So Anyways, y'all, if you want to see the next base game truck, please comment below with what base game truck you'd like to see featured next, and the most upvoted comment will be the one we feature next. So with that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video and potentially learned a few things along the way as well. So until next time, y'all, God bless and stay upright.